real estate is fun when it's done right.
We have so many beautiful areas of our city.
Best part about us is that we're a lot of fun.
A question we get a lot from people either moving to Seattle or first-time home buyers is what's the difference between a condo and a townhouse? And there are a lot of different factors that can go into this and be, quote unquote norms for our market. But the easiest way to describe it is with a condo, you own air rights and you typically have an HOA. And in a townhome, you own the land underneath your property.
The big thing about a condo that you did touch on is the HOA. And so what comes down to an HOA is all the governing rules and documents of living in a building with your neighbors. And sometimes that can be a little bit constricting because of the fact that you are in this building and you kind of all have to cohabitate together. So an example of that would be changing large things in your unit. Maybe you want to swap out the floors. Maybe you want to remove a wall. You have to go through an approval process and discuss with your neighbors how this is going to look and affect the overall building.
And in a lot of buildings, there are rental regulations. So if you're planning to own this and live in it yourself and then rent it out down the road, an HOA might have some sort of rule on that.
Yeah.
I would say, though, most of our buyers typically end up being drawn more so to townhouses because of the flexibility that they give. They're kind of that hybrid between the condo, but you have more freedom to do what you like. If you want to Airbnb, if you want to rent it, if you want to have a pet, if you want to make changes, all of that is typically a little more flexible in the townhouse. And we also find that they typically appreciate better than condos.
Yeah.
So depending on how long you're trying to hold this investment, this property, a townhouse could make more sense than a condo in some scenarios.
So are you thinking that like livability in a townhouse is maybe more similar to a house than a condo?
Typically, yeah. You know, a lot of times you'll have some outdoor space. And again, it really just comes down to the freedom to do what you want with the place. You still do have neighbors and other owners in the area and, maybe even connected to you. But the way in which you're allowed to operate and alter your unit is typically different than in a condo.
Another factor in deciding between a condo and a townhouse is going to be looking at your affordability. And so a big part of that when it comes to lending is the fact that lending numbers and rates, those kinds of things, are a little bit higher when it comes to a condo because the lender's looking at the risk of being the entire building versus you as a single unit owner. So that becomes a play when you're talking about monthly payment. But then another part of your monthly payment would be the dues.
Because your HOA dues are factored into your affordability from a lending perspective, let's say an $800,000 condo may translate to you being able to afford a $900,000+ townhouse, which sometimes feels like you're getting a much different type of home. And so depending on what it is you need, that oftentimes is worth it to buyers.
Yeah. You're thinking of like expanding your price point almost $100,000 more and where that's going to take you. And it's just such a more broad perspective and availability of options.
And on the flip side to that, again, if you're really at the top of what you're able to afford, your HOA dues do cover monthly fees that you would pay in your single family townhouse. It really just depends on what it is a buyer wants in their home long term, what they want for resale, how long they want to hold it, what they want to do with the property, are they going to rent it? There's so many different factors. So, the differences can feel vast, but it just depends on what's needed.
Yeah. You kind of sum it up to your end goal and what that looks like for you and your lifestyle.